My job title is many and varied these days, and I don't say that to try and sound grand. I'm saying that because that has been by need to remain relevant in a rapidly and dramatically changing media marketplace. If you asked me that 20 years ago, I would have said to you, oh, I'm a journalist, full stop, and that's the end of it. These days, I'm a journalist, I'm an editor, I'm a proofreader and sub-editor, I'm a copywriter, I'm also a media consultant. I work with a few different companies. I'm also a teacher, a lecturer, a tutor, and a trainer. So that has been out of necessity to remain relevant in the media as it currently stands and in the landscape that it is. You need to have many skills working for you. And this is my 30th year in journalism, and that is a wonderful thing to say, but boy, has that changed in 30 years. So everything I've just said, I do in fairly even measures across the year, but I'm still a journalist at heart. I started exactly 30 years ago in suburban newspapers, and while I was still at school, I was working for my local suburban newspaper. I just knew that's what I wanted to do, and that proved to be the best training of all, because when I left school and I started at university, I started to work for a number of suburban newspapers, and I was working between the lot of them. I was the copy boy, so I was doing everything from writing very short stories and picture captions through to getting lunches and picking up dry cleaning and picking up the mail, doing the whole bit. But it was the best training, and it was fantastic. And the wonderful thing about working in suburban papers, it taught me what makes a news story at grassroots level. What is a story that impacts on its community? I was very lucky though. From there, I got headhunted into magazines, and I had a mentor who was still in the media, and she had a huge influence on me. I had done work experience with her a number of years before, in fact when I was 15 years old. And she took me into magazines, and I just found a whole new world, and that was where I wanted to be. And I continued in magazines. This is when magazines were selling enormous numbers. I started on TV Week magazine, and then I went to work on Vogue, and then I went to work on New Idea, and that was when New Idea was selling the unheard of figure of 1.8 million copies a week. Not readership, that was how many they were selling. It was truly the most golden time of magazines, and I was really lucky I was there. So I continued in magazines for a number of years, and then I went into television. I went to work at the 7 Network in the newsroom. But that was fantastic, but it taught me that I'm a newspaper and magazine boy. That was where my love was. So I went back into magazines, and I worked in magazines for a number of years after that. And then there was a crash. There was an absolute crash around 1990. And in 4 years, I had 4 publications crash on me, all collapse. So I went into public relations, and I worked in PR for a DVD company for a number of years, and I still say it was one of the happiest experiences I ever had, but it taught me the other side of media, of what you need to do to make contact with a journalist in terms of having a story that's ready to go. That company also went bust. So I was on a bit of a roll there, and I decided I need some security in my life. I know what I'll do. I'll set up my own business, and that's what I did. And that's been 21 years now. And I've been working freelance ever since. I did take a couple of years out in the late 90s to go back and work at Pacific magazines. At the time they had TV Week magazine, and TV Week has the Logie Awards. And I was asked to come back to take care of the Logies for 3 years, which I did. And I was also senior editor on the magazine, and a number of other jobs, and that was fantastic. And I left there late 2001, and from 2001 till today, I've been working freelance again full time. But it's been very interesting from 2001 to today. My career has changed so significantly. You cannot just say you're a journalist anymore. Oh, that's just what I do. You have to be a jack of all trades. The everyday world of the journalist really depends. In my case, I'm working freelance, so it means that I have to get up and I'm starting my day by being self-motivated. I have to do that to remain in business. And I don't think that's really that different if you're there or if you're working in a newsroom. And I'm talking about a television newsroom, radio newsroom, online newsroom, wherever you may be. You have to be pretty self-motivated now to keep on top of what's going on, but also to hold down your job. Because if you're not self-motivated, there's a number of other people right behind you who are. So to start your day, you need to find out what's going on. And so the first thing I do every morning is I check the various news websites. I watch at least 2 different news, television news, to get 2 different points of view. I then go on to Twitter, and I have a good trawl through Twitter. I also have a look through LinkedIn. It's amazing what you can find through LinkedIn. So I'm just finding out what's going on, what's trending, what's happening that day, what's making news. And then I know throughout the day I'm going to continue to check in on those news sites to see exactly, has there been a change in the story? Has something else knocked it out? Has something else happened? Is it a slow day and they are literally digging for anything they can find? And we have all had those days. In fact, we've all had those months, so I think that's fairer to say. So that's how I start my day, and then I go through my emails and I find out what's going on. And then it depends on the schedule I'm working on at the time. I might have a number of deadlines, and I may have a deadline at the end of that day. I may have 3 deadlines at the end of that day. So it's been absolutely clear on what you're doing, so your day is divided up. And the deadline is something you don't miss. You just simply don't miss. It's just, it has to be adhered to. I have a structure that I follow that's, it's a number of steps, and it's called hook 'em in, set 'em up. We need a big fat quote, let it roll, second engine, maybe third engine, wrap it up. 7 points to the story. So it's basically, how am I going to open this story? How am I going to make that opening explain the story? How am I going to engage the reader with that? Where am I going to use my quotes? Then how do I explain the body of the story, the crux of the story? Then second engine means, what else do I have that's going to give this more information so the story continues to flow? What else does this story need to take it into a new direction, or to further explore the angle? And wrap it up, 9 times out of 10, I use another big quote.
So what am I dancing to tonight? Am I dancing to I Begin to Wonder, or am I dancing to Better the W.No.?
It's a mashup.
Well,
It's a mashup.
it's a
Just
mashup.
trying to put them together. You just got to dance, but not like that.
Not like that?
Yeah.
Like,
We'll work on that.
my
one.
hands in the air like I just don't care.
Like you just don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. The communication skill is important for a journalist. There are a number of skills. Firstly, it's a sense of curiosity. You have to be curious about, what is this story? What is it about? What else is going on with it? That's absolutely essential. And that's a personal quality, but it's something that's essential. You must also be a good listener. You must listen to what's going on around you. And when you're interviewing somebody, you have to listen to what they're saying, to understand what they're saying, to comprehend what they're saying. Listening and comprehension are 2 very different things. And oftentimes you see people being interviewed, and you know the interviewer's not listening to them. They're just getting the words out. You better listen to what they're saying, because there might be information there that you can continue into another stream, into another area. You have to be able to be a good speaker, that you know, as my first editor said, I'm going to need you to interview everybody in this job, from the local garbage man up to the Prime Minister. And you better be ready to interview that job, people of every job. And I thought that was fantastic, because I thought, isn't that great? You get access to these people. So as a journalist, you can go to people and start asking them questions. You have permission to do that. It doesn't mean you have permission to act badly or to act poorly. It means you have permission to engage with them and to talk to them. So you have to be a good speaker, you have to be a good listener, you have to be curious, and you have to care. You have to care about, well, what does this mean? What does this story mean? What is the impact of this? What is what this person's saying? Is this going to impact on me and some friends, or is it going to impact on the entire nation? Is it going to impact on the world? I don't know why anyone would want to do anything different. Why would you not want to be a journalist? And I really mean that. But you better be really clear why you're doing it. I knew I always wanted to be a journalist because I wanted to tell stories. And I wanted to tell people stories. I wanted to hear what people had to say. Why are you doing that? Why have you made that decision? Why did you pursue that? Why did you think this was a good thing to do? What was it like to do that? It's the who, what, when, where, why, and how. The 5W and the H rule that all the students will know backwards doesn't change. They're absolutely the crucial questions. And that's always been the way I've operated. I want to know why. Why did that happen? My best advice to somebody who has completed their studies and wants to do something with their skills and also wants to get into the media marketplace is to work and work and work at it. And I'm not just saying that to sound glib, I'm saying keep working at it, because you're going to be knocked back again and again and again and again and again. And I'm not saying that to discourage anybody. What I'm saying is you've got to be pretty tough in terms of perseverance. You really have to persevere. If you really want to make this your career, follow it. Find out what's going on. Find out where the jobs are going. Find out who is employing. Find out what they need. Find out what are the things that journalists need to do. Network, network, network. Social media has made that easier than ever. A friend of mine that I went to university with, who is now one of the main newsreaders in Sydney, when we were going through university, every school holidays I was going into Pacific magazines and tidying up their filing cabinets and sweeping out their photo studios and getting lunches and picking up photocopying and doing photocopying and doing all kinds of jobs. And what he was doing every single Friday, he used to go into the studios of a particular small cable channel, and he used to do the same thing. He would pick up dry cleaning, he would do the ironing for the people that were going on camera, he'd be photocopying, he'd be tidying up, he'd be washing up the cups and saucers. He was there every single Friday. And when we were at uni, we used to have people laugh at us and go, you guys are wasting your time. When I finished university, I had a job immediately, and when that guy, on the day we graduated, one of his colleagues at that cable TV network turned up to his graduation. And when he came over after the graduation ceremony, he said, oh, by the way, I've got a gift for you. You start next week. You're a junior reporter. He had put in the hard yards. And that may sound like a telly movie of the week. It's a true story. Ask Peter Overton, that's who I'm talking about. And Peter tells that story many, many times. He knew what he wanted to do and there were no jobs, so he worked at it. And he's now one of the finest newsreaders in the country. He's Channel 9's evening newsreader. The biggest challenge of working as a journalist now is finding the stories, and finding the stories that matter, and finding the stories that have a resonance and a relevance. And that is that's the ongoing challenge. And that's something you've got to love. You've got to love following that up. You can never get to a point where you just go, oh, that story's done now, and sit back. It's a matter of constantly following the stories and finding new stories. I have a philosophy about finding the stories, and it's about keeping yourself in work. And I don't care if you're working freelance, or I don't care if you are working in a newsroom on an organisation. And I say to people when they say they're a bit bored about their job, I go, pitch, don't bitch. Come up with the stuff. Come up with a story. Find out what's going on. Don't sit back and whinge and say there's nothing going on. Nothing going on. Gee, nobody's rung me. Nobody's nobody's offering me good stories. Really? Well, get off your tail, pick up the phone, find out what's going on, go online. It's easier now than ever to find the stories. That's the challenge, though. It's a challenge of finding the story, and also finding a story that has an audience, that has a market. It's all very well to say, and we all do this. We get very subjective and we go, oh, this means something to me. Yeah, well, that's not good enough. It's got to have a genuine audience and genuine market. Because you may write a fantastic story and you may do a great job with it, and it's a really good story, but it has no market and has no audience. And you're going to have your editor say, well, that's fine, but what else have you got? Because this story really doesn't matter to that many people. It matters to you, and that's great, but it doesn't matter to a lot of people. So it's about always finding the story. And that's what I mean by pitch. I mean, pitch is like come up with a story and suggest it. Suggest it to your editors, suggest it to the editor-in-chief, suggest it to your publisher. Follow up all the time. And the best way to do that is to do your research and to find out what is making news now. What else can I do with it? What else can I do with this? What else is going on?